paragraph, they need to fundamentally change the service that they're providing because it's not working. It's severely broken. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm feeling angry again. Why? Because my mortal enemy Goodreads has been up to some shenanigans, or rather, I should say, their incredibly poorly built system has been exploited, and now Goodreads is facing an extortion problem, which is just another reason for everyone to stop using Goodreads. Before I talk about what's been happening, I think it's important to lay a foundation of what Goodreads is and what its mission was when it was founded. So basically, it was created by two partners in 2006 who had a mission to help people find books that they love. And so they created Goodreads, and by 2007, it was a smash hit, and it was very quickly acquired by Amazon in 2013. This acquisition is incredibly problematic in numerous ways, but I won't go into that today. But just know that Amazon is the parent company of Goodreads now. And now Goodreads is kind of just like a neutral, maybe neutral positive place for people to talk about books online and for people to discover new books. So how do they do that? Goodreads has two primary features that it uses to help you understand whether or not you're going to like a book: the star rating and the written reviews. These are the only two metrics of quality that Goodreads has. Whether or not someone decided to write a paragraph that explains why they gave the star rating is completely up to the users, and users are completely free to give whatever book they want, whatever rating they want, without any kind of justification. And you're saying, Svenya, that's great. We're talking about free speech on the internet. Like, what do you want them to do? Well, I would like them to prevent review bombing, which is the real problem. Because Goodreads has no real checks in place to make sure that people have actually read the books that they're reviewing, or that they have a real reason for reviewing them the way that they are, what's happening is that authors who stand for particular causes, specifically trans authors or authors of color or other members of the LGBTQ community who speak out because of their beliefs, have recently been targeted by review bombing, which is when people who don't agree with them will go onto Goodreads and rate all of their books 1 star, making their overall rating completely plummet. And considering that there are only two metrics by which a potential reader can judge whether or not your book is good using Goodreads, and one of them, the first one that they see, is the average star rating, if a large number of people decide to latch onto an author and review bomb them, then that's really devastating for small, independently published authors whose publisher is not going to fight against Goodreads to get these 1-star reviews removed. And so just having a whole bunch of 1-star reviews is one thing. The larger problem with this review bombing is the extortion that happens. These authors have reported getting emails demanding money, holding their Goodreads average review ransom, saying, if you don't give me money, if you don't do X, Y, or Z, I'm going to continue to rate all of your books really low, I'm going to get all of my friends to do it, and your career is going to be over. Imagine that the place that we as the internet have decided is probably the most reputable place for you to get a public opinion about a book. Imagine that that place is no longer credible because it's a space for already marginalized authors to be bullied.
Bullies. These are bullies. These are high school fucking bullies.
It's absolutely insane. And Goodreads can't do anything about it because of the structure, because Goodreads doesn't actually have a team of paid moderators. They operate on a system of volunteer librarians. So these are people who just really care about books and reading and want to foster a healthy online space for people to talk about books and recommend books to each other, which is awesome. All of the librarians are amazing and the work they're doing is incredible. However, there aren't enough of them and they aren't being paid, which means we're not getting the kind of moderation that is really required for a platform of this size. And so there isn't really anyone to report this to, and the people who you do report it to are incredibly busy with all of the other problems that Goodreads has. And so these smaller authors are just pushed away by people who don't agree with the platform that they stand on, and in some cases their entire career is held ransom by literal cyberbullies. Like, that's so insane that Amazon, their parent company, is just like, sounds good. And you would think that this wouldn't be an issue because Amazon also has an incredibly fundamental star rating system implemented into their digital marketplace. Like, they must have figured something out. Yeah, they did. They had verified purchasers, right? Because they were able to see if that person had actually purchased that item from Amazon when they wrote the review. But on Goodreads, that becomes a lot more nuanced, right? If someone's giving a book a 1-star review, Goodreads isn't the merchant. And so they can't verify whether or not you actually purchased the book or read the book. And it would be kind of crazy for Goodreads to make us write a book report star for us to be able to rate books. So what do we do about it? This all goes back to the fundamental information architecture that Goodreads is based on, which is that you have a star rating average and then the written reviews. And just having those two pieces of information is fundamentally not enough for a reader to get a valuable insight into how good the book is and whether or not it would be the right book for them. And that's what other services like the Story Graph do much, much better. They have you quantify other parts of the book, like the pacing and the character development and the world building and other aspects of the book that made it enjoyable or not enjoyable to you, so that you can quantify your reading experience in a much more nuanced way and someone else can do so as well, making it much more difficult to rate everything 1 star. That becomes much more of a flag for the moderators that this person might not have actually read this book, this might be a review bomb, maybe we should look into this person's account. Because Goodreads really can't look into everyone that rates something a 1 star. Like, I might have just really not liked the book and I don't want to get banned on Goodreads for giving something a 1 star. Like, I read Shatter Me. That was horrible. It deserved 1 star. And so moving in a direction like where the Story Graph has gone to kind of dissect the elements of a book that make it compelling to certain readers as opposed to others, not only would help them better accomplish their goal of helping people find books that they love, because a 5-star rating offers absolutely no information, but it would also help prevent this kind of extortion that these smaller authors are experiencing. It's just a larger issue with Goodreads these days that they're not accomplishing their mission to help people find good books. And it's really heartbreaking because a lot of readers feel really let down by Goodreads now that we've found more effective ways to get better book recommendations, like Book Talk and BookTube and Book Twitter and all of these other social media platforms that were not designed for books, accomplishing Goodreads' goals better than Goodreads. Why else does Goodreads not accomplish its goals? Well, they have a horrible recommendations engine because they're not collecting any more information from you about your reading experience other than your 1 to 5-star rating and like whether or not you choose to write a review. They're not asking you any kinds of questions about the book that would help them understand why you did or didn't like it to give you a better recommendation. And the Story Graph does this a little better. I think their algorithm is not the best. I do have some problems with it. It didn't really work for me. I got some recommendations that were kind of off that I didn't really agree with, but at least it's moving in the right direction. Then Goodreads doesn't have any half stars, which is absolutely ridiculous because there's already so little nuance in Goodreads rating system, but the fact that you have to choose between 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, that there are only 5 options to quantify something so incredibly delicate as your opinion of a book is absolutely bamboozling to me because it offers a potential reader so little information about whether they're going to like a book if the people who are actually providing these reviews also don't feel confident. There's also no way to standardize what all of these ratings mean. Because for me, I think a 3-star review is still pretty decent, right? I went in, I had expectations, and those expectations were met. Like, it was exactly what I thought it would be. It wasn't better. It wasn't a 4-star because it was more fun than I expected it to be, or a 5-star because it's one of my all-time favorites, but I didn't have any serious problems with it. It's a 3-star review. But if you have an average of 3-star reviews on Goodreads, that's horrible. People will not want to read your book because for some people, it's either only 5 stars or 1 star. Like, there's no way to standardize this and there's no nuance. So it's very difficult to like actually glean any kind of useful insight out of this average number. And then we've talked enough about the star ratings. Like, fine, Svenya, you've worn us to death. It's a horrible system. We're all on the same page now. Amazing, thank you. Moving on to the written reviews. Why are these garbage? Well, first of all, because the pages for the books are created by the librarian whenever the author announces the book. So once there's a release date, the book will typically already have a page for it on Goodreads. And there have been some problems with this in the past. These pages are created for the books once they're announced. And this makes a lot of sense because a big tool for marketing in the book publishing industry is advanced reader copies. People like book bloggers and librarians will get an advanced copy of the book so that they can review it and they can start to spread word about it and do word of mouth marketing before the book is released, right? It's a really important tool for marketing. And so having a space on Goodreads for those advanced readers to place reviews makes a lot of sense. The problem is you don't have to prove that you had an advanced reader copy to write a review before the date. And so there will be a lot of unreleased books that have incredibly high or incredibly low ratings just because people will go in and say, I didn't like the last book in the series, this book is going to be garbage, 1 star. And then a book that might not even have been written yet has a 1-star review on Goodreads. Like, that's absolutely insane that people can just go like, boop-de-doop-de-doop, I didn't like this. Just completely undermining the value proposition of Goodreads. So yeah, Goodreads is a little problematic. I'm not Goodreads' biggest fan, as you can tell. But I do think that it's really important for us to foster safe spaces, for us to talk about books and love books and share books that we love with other people to help them fall in love with reading. But I do think that we also need to have a space where people are allowed to express their opinions on books that they don't like. It's really difficult to say how Goodreads should move forward. I personally think that the approach that they've taken for the past 10 years in their current information architecture is really blunt and not effective. And so in order for them to stay relevant and prevent even more of their users switching off of Goodreads and onto new platforms like the Storygraph, they need to fundamentally change the service that they're providing because it's not working. It's severely broken and it's hurting not only the readers who can't use it to accomplish their goal of finding new books, but also the authors who are providing the books that give us something to love, hate, and feel something about. I wish that Goodreads would just take like a 6-month hiatus and completely revamp, completely redesign their whole platform because their value proposition is no longer relevant and their approach isn't working. All in all, Goodreads is a doozy. It's a little bit of a problem. But with that, thank you so much for joining me for this little rant. I had a lot of fun despite getting a little bit heated. As always, it was an absolute pleasure hanging out with you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye.